The council chamber stretched wide enough to hold representatives from 47 different species, each one more advanced and ancient than humanity could ever claim to be. Ambassador Jake Morrison stood at the center platform, his hands clasped behind his back as he faced the assembled aliens who would decide his species' fate. The Vrexian Chancellor rose from his seat, his four eyes gleaming with what Jake recognized as contempt mixed with fear. "We gathered today to address the human problem," the Chancellor announced, his voice translating through the chamber's systems into every language present. "In merely 2 centuries since first contact, this species has spread across 30 star systems like a plague." Commander Lisa Hayes stood beside Jake, her military uniform crisp and professional, despite the tension running through her body. She stepped forward when the Chancellor paused. "Our expansion has been peaceful," Lisa said firmly. "Every colony we established followed proper protocols. We purchased or leased the land legally. We harmed no one." A Korthan elder, its ancient form hovering in a containment field, spoke with a voice that sounded like grinding stones. "Legality is not our concern, human. Your species reproduces too quickly. You adapt too fast. You take risks that more sensible species would never consider." Jake watched as holographic displays appeared around the chamber, showing human colonies, human ships, human cities spreading across the stars like wildfire. The images showed children playing in parks on distant worlds, farmers cultivating alien soil, engineers building impossible structures that reached toward foreign skies. "Look at what you have accomplished in 200 years, the Vrexian Chancellor continued. "What took our people 10,000 years to achieve, you did in mere centuries. You are dangerous precisely because you do not understand your own danger." Lisa's jaw tightened. "You fear us because we succeed?" she asked, her voice carrying across the chamber. "You punish achievement and innovation?" "We fear you because you do not know when to stop." A crystalline being chimed in, its voice like breaking glass. "You push boundaries. You question rules. You never accept limitations." Jake knew this was coming. The intelligence reports had warned him. The Galactic Council, comfortable in their ancient ways, saw humanity's rapid growth as a threat to the stability they cherished above all else. "Humanity seeks only to explore and grow," Jake said, keeping his voice calm and measured. "We have no interest in conquest or domination. We simply want to give our children a future among the stars." "And that is precisely the problem," the Vrexian Chancellor replied. "Your children will have children, who will have more children, spreading endlessly across the galaxy. In 1,000 years, humans will outnumber every other species combined." The chamber fell silent as the weight of those words settled over everyone present. Jake knew the mathematics were correct. Human population growth exceeded every other known species by factors of 10 or more. But that was not humanity's fault. It was simply their nature. "We cannot change who we are," Lisa said quietly. "Would you ask us to stop having children? To limit our dreams? To deny our people the right to build new homes? We ask you to leave," the Vrexian Chancellor said flatly. The words hit Jake like a physical blow. "Leave?" he repeated. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision," the Chancellor continued. "Humanity is hereby expelled from Council space. You have 1 standard year to withdraw all colonies, all outposts, all presence from any system under Council protection." Jake felt the floor seem to tilt beneath him. "You cannot do this," he said, his voice rising despite his efforts to stay calm. "We have done nothing wrong. We followed every law, every regulation, every guideline you gave us. You exist." The Korthan elder said simply. "That is enough." Lisa stepped forward, her hand moving toward Jake's arm to steady him. "Where are we supposed to go?" she demanded. "We have billions of people living in these colonies. They built homes here. They raised families here. Return to your home system, the Chancellor said without emotion. Confine yourselves to the Sol system and the space immediately surrounding it. Any human vessel detected in Council space after the deadline will be destroyed without warning. This is exile, Jake said, the word tasting bitter on his tongue. You are condemning billions of innocent people because you are afraid of what we might become. We are protecting trillions of lives across the galaxy. The Chancellor countered. The Council has spoken. The vote was 39 in favor, 8 opposed. Humanity will withdraw or face military action. Jake looked around the chamber, searching for allies among the assembled species. A few met his eyes with what might have been sympathy, but none spoke in humanity's defense. The Council had made its decision, and nothing he said would change it. History will judge you for this, Jake said quietly. You punish a species not for what they have done, but for what you fear they might do. History is written by survivors, the Vrexian Chancellor replied. We intend to survive. The session ended with a formal declaration that would be transmitted across the galaxy. Humanity was no longer welcome among the stars. Jake and Lisa walked back to their ship in silence, both too stunned to speak. Only when they were safely aboard did Lisa finally break down, slamming her fist against the bulkhead. 200 years of cooperation, she said, her voice shaking with anger. 200 years of following their rules. And they throw us out like garbage. Jake sat heavily in the command chair, his mind racing through impossible scenarios. We need to inform Earth, he said quietly. President Walsh needs to know what is coming. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks through the Council's Jumpgate network. 3 weeks during which news of humanity's exile spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Some species celebrated, relieved that the fast-growing humans would no longer compete for resources in space. Others watched with quiet concern, wondering if they might be next, if the Council decided they too were growing too quickly or changing too fast. Jake spent those weeks preparing his report, choosing every word carefully. He knew this would devastate humanity. Billions of colonists would need to abandon everything they built. The dream of a future among the stars would die, or would it? As Jake stared out at the stars rushing past, a different thought began to form in his mind. The Council controlled the known galaxy, the map systems, the safe routes between established worlds, but the galaxy was vast beyond measure. With billions of stars, the Council had never bothered to explore. What if humanity did not retreat in defeat? What if they took this exile and turned it into opportunity? When they finally arrived at Earth, Jake and Lisa stood before the United Nations Assembly and the colonial governors. President Kevin Walsh, a silver-haired man with sharp eyes, listened to their report in grim silence when Jake finished. Walsh stood and addressed the assembled representatives. The Galactic Council has made their decision, Walsh said, his voice carrying to every corner of Earth and every human colony. They have chosen fear over friendship. They have chosen isolation over cooperation. He paused, letting the weight of the moment settle. Very well, Walsh continued. If the Council does not want us in their space, we will find our own space. We will explore regions they never dared to visit. We will build colonies on worlds they never bothered to discover. We will prove that humanity does not need their permission to reach for the stars. The assembly erupted in a mixture of grief and defiant cheers. Jake looked at Lisa and saw the same determination in her eyes that he felt building in his own chest. The Galactic Council thought they were ending humanity's expansion into space. Instead, they had just given humanity a reason to push further and dream bigger than ever before. The exile would not be the end of humanity among the stars. It would be the beginning of something far greater. Captain Brandon Cole stood on the bridge of his transport ship, watching through the viewport as families loaded their belongings onto evacuation vessels, the colony of New Hope. built over 15 years by 10,000 determined settlers, was being abandoned. Children cried as they left behind pets that could not make the journey. Adults moved in stunned silence. Packing lives into cargo containers? How much time do we have? His first officer asked. 3 months until the deadline, Brandon replied. We need to evacuate 47 colonies in that time. The scale of the operation was staggering. Millions of people scattered across 30 star systems, all needing transport back to Sol. But humanity had learned to be efficient. Every available ship was pressed into service. Military vessels, cargo haulers. Even luxury liners were stripped down and converted into mass transport. Dr. Amy Chun watched the evacuation from the surface. Her scientific equipment already packed and loaded. She had spent 5 years studying the unique ecosystem of New Hope, cataloging species that existed nowhere else in the known galaxy. Now all that research would be abandoned. Left behind for the Council to claim or destroy, a young girl approached Amy, holding a small plant in a makeshift pot. Can I take this? The girl asked, her eyes red from crying. I grew it from a seed. Amy looked at the plant. Recognizing it as a hybrid, the colonists had developed by crossbreeding Earth and local species. Yes, Amy said gently, taking the pot and carefully placing it in her personal bag. We will take as much as we can, every seed, every sample, every piece of knowledge we gained here. The girl smiled weakly and ran back to her parents. Amy made a mental note. Humanity would need to remember everything they learned out here, because someday they would return to the stars, back in the Sol system. The returning colonists faced a different kind of chaos. Mars became the primary receiving station, its facilities overwhelmed by the sheer number of arrivals. Engineer Nicole Parker worked 18-hour shifts expanding the habitation domes to accommodate the flood of refugees. We need more space, she told her construction teams. Double shift everything. Use every spare part we have. The asteroid belt shipyards, usually quiet except for maintenance work, suddenly roared to life. President Walsh had announced the Frontier Initiative within days of the exile decree. If humanity could not use council space, they would create their own infrastructure. Nicole found herself promoted from senior engineer to director of Sol System Development. Her first task was simple but massive. Turn the solar system into a fortress and a factory. Mars will be our industrial heart, she explained to the planning committee. We increase mining operations, build new refineries, expand the manufacturing sectors. What about the belt? Someone asked. The asteroid belt becomes our shipyard, Nicole continued. We build vessels designed for long-range operation. Ships that can sustain themselves for years without resupply. Europa's ice-covered surface hid the moon's greatest secret, vast underground oceans teeming with life. The research station beneath the ice grew rapidly as scientists arrived from the evacuated colonies. Dr. Amy Chun joined the team working on Project Genesis. The goal was ambitious: catalog every alien species humanity had encountered, understand their biology, and learn to adapt those lessons to human needs. We cannot access council databases anymore, Amy explained to her research team. Everything we know must come from our own observations and studies. She pulled up holographic displays showing creatures from a dozen different worlds. These samples are all we have left, she said, but they represent knowledge the council takes for granted. If we can understand how life adapts across different worlds, we can prepare for whatever we find beyond their borders, in a laboratory on Titan. Physicist Dr. Peter Grant worked on a problem that had consumed him for months. The Council controlled the jump gate network, the primary means of faster-than-light travel across known space. Without access to those gates, humanity would be limited to slower-than-light travel, making exploration of distant stars nearly impossible. We need our own FTL system, Peter told his team. something independent of Council technology. His approach was radical. Instead of trying to copy Council jump gate technology, he proposed studying hyperspace itself. The Council built roads through hyperspace, Peter explained, pointing to complex equations on his display. But what if we do not need roads? What if we can navigate hyperspace directly? The mathematics were brutal. The energy requirements seemed impossible. But Peter had something the Council scientists lacked: desperation and determination. 5 years passed. The galaxy forgot about the exiled humans, assuming they had crawled back to their home world and accepted their fate. The Galactic Council went back to their comfortable routines, convinced the human problem was solved. But in Sol System, humanity worked with furious purpose. Captain Brandon Cole stood in the shipyard above Ceres, inspecting the first vessel of the new independent fleet. The ship was unlike anything the Council built. Where Council vessels relied on regular resupply and maintenance at established stations, this ship carried hydroponic gardens, advanced recycling systems, and manufacturing facilities. She can operate independently for 20 years, the lead designer told Brandon. Everything the crew needs, the ship can produce. What about speed? Brandon asked. The designer smiled. That is the interesting part. Dr. Grant's team installed a prototype hyperspace drive. If it works, this ship will be faster than anything the Council has. They named the vessel Endeavor, and Brandon took command for its maiden voyage. The destination was carefully chosen, a star system 40 light-years from Sol, in a direction the Council had never bothered to explore when the Endeavor jumped to hyperspace. Brandon felt the universe twist around him in ways the Council's smooth jump gates never produced. But when they emerged 3 days later, his navigator confirmed they had traveled 40 light-years. A journey that would have taken Council ships 2 weeks had been completed in 3 days. Send a message back to Dr. Grant, Brandon said, grinning widely. Tell him his crazy idea works. While exploration ships pushed into uncharted space, colony ships followed carefully plotted courses. Commander Liza Hayes, promoted to admiral, coordinated the secret expansion. We stay beyond the Council's sensor range, she instructed her fleet commanders. No contact with Council species, no transmissions that might give away our positions. The first independent colony was established on a world the crew named New Terra. Colony Director Ryan Foster led the settlers in building a community designed with hard-learned lessons. We build smart this time, Ryan told his people. Every structure is self-sufficient. Every system has backups. We prepare for the possibility that we might never get resupply from Sol. The colonists worked with determination born from exile. They knew the Council had rejected them, but that only made them more committed to proving humanity could thrive without permission. Back in Sol System, President Walsh received regular reports from the expanding frontier. In public, humanity appeared to have accepted their exile quietly. In reality, human ships were establishing colonies faster than ever before. Dr. Amy Chun made a breakthrough on Europa by studying the genetic patterns of alien species. She developed techniques for adapting earth crops to grow in alien soil without extensive terraforming. This changes everything, she reported to Walsh. We can establish colonies on worlds the Council would consider uninhabitable. We do not need their perfect garden worlds anymore. Dr. Peter Grant's team continued refining the hyperspace drive. Each new generation of ships was faster and more efficient. By the 10th year after the exile, human vessels could cross distances in days that took Council ships months. We have an advantage they do not know about, Peter explained to the Scientific Council. As long as we stay hidden, we can expand faster than they can track. 20 years after the exile, humanity had established over 200 colonies in the frontier regions. None appeared on Council maps. The population of these hidden worlds grew steadily, fed by both natural growth and volunteers from Sol who wanted to be part of the new frontier. Admiral Lisa Hayes stood in her office, looking at a holographic map of human space. The Sol system remained the official human territory, visible to Council observers, but spreading outward in directions the Council never monitored. Hundreds of blue dots marked human colonies. "We did it," her chief of staff said quietly. "We survived the exile and grew stronger." Lisa nodded slowly. "We survived," she agreed. "Now we need to make sure we stay ahead." The Council feared our growth before. Imagine what they would do if they knew the truth. Somewhere in the frontier, Scout Commander Jake Morrison, son of the former ambassador, piloted his stealth ship along the boundary of Council space. His mission was simple: watch for Council activity and make sure humanity stayed undetected. As he monitored Council transmissions, Jake smiled grimly. The Council still believed humanity was confined to Sol, weak and broken by exile. They had no idea that the species they feared had grown more powerful in isolation. The galaxy would learn the truth eventually. But for now, humanity worked in the shadows, building an empire the Council could not imagine. Scout pilot Megan Torres checked her instruments for the third time, not quite believing what they showed. Her small exploration vessel drifted at the edge of an uncharted system, its passive sensors detecting something that should not exist. "Control. This is Scout 7. She transmitted back to the nearest human outpost. "I am picking up massive energy signatures. Artificial structures detected across multiple planets in this system." The response took several minutes due to the distance. "Scout 7. Confirm artificial. Could these be natural formations?" Megan adjusted her sensors and moved closer, her heart pounding. "Negative. Control. These are definitely constructed, and they are old. Really old." The structures became clearer as she approached. Massive towers reaching hundreds of kilometers into space, platforms the size of moons. Installations built with technology that made even human advances look primitive. But everything was dark, silent, abandoned. "Control. I think I found ruins from a precursor civilization," Megan reported, her voice shaking with excitement. "Requesting science team immediately." Dr. Amy Chun arrived 3 weeks later aboard a research vessel. She stood on the surface of the first structure they explored, running her gloved hand along walls made from materials her scanner could not identify. "How old is this?" asked her assistant, a young scientist named Chris Murphy. "Millions of years," Amy replied, checking her dating equipment. These builders were active long before the Council species even developed spaceflight. The team spent months exploring the network of structures. They found data archives, manufacturing facilities, laboratories, and living spaces designed for beings completely different from any known species. They called themselves the Precursors, Amy announced after decoding some of the ancient records. And they were far more advanced than anything in the current galaxy. The most incredible discovery came when Chris accidentally activated a still-functioning terminal. Holographic displays sprang to life, showing star maps, technical diagrams, and what appeared to be instruction manuals. "It still works," Chris whispered in awe. "After millions of years, their technology still functions." Amy immediately contacted Admiral Lisa Hayes and Dr. Peter Grant. "You need to see this," she said over the secure channel. "The Precursors left behind working technology, and I think we can learn from it." Dr. Peter Grant arrived with a team of engineers and physicists. What they found exceeded their wildest dreams. The Precursor hyperspace technology operated on principles Council science had never discovered. They did not just travel through hyperspace, Peter explained. Studying the ancient schematics, they manipulated it, shaped it, used it in ways we never imagined possible. Over the next 2 years, human scientists worked to understand and integrate precursor knowledge with their own technology. It was not simple copying. The precursor systems were too different. designed for different purposes and different users. Instead, human engineers adapted the principles. Combining precursor theory with human innovation, the results were revolutionary. The first precursor-enhanced human ship was called Pathfinder. Captain Brandon Cole, now a senior fleet commander, took it for its test flight. All systems green, his engineer reported. Precursor drive is online and stable. Take us to the test coordinates, Brandon ordered. What happened next changed everything. The Pathfinder crossed 500 light-years in less than 6 hours. A distance that would have taken the fastest Council ship 3 months. When Brandon reported back to command, the implications were clear. We can move faster than anyone in the galaxy, he said. We can explore regions the Council cannot reach. We can respond to threats before the Council even detects them. But speed was only the beginning. The precursor ruins also contained information on energy shields. Advanced materials, medical technology, and manufacturing processes. Human engineers worked to adapt each discovery. Nicole Parker led the effort to upgrade the frontier colonies with precursor-enhanced systems. Every colony needs to be self-sufficient and defensible, she explained to the engineering teams. We install shield generators, advanced power systems, and manufacturing facilities based on precursor designs. The transformation was remarkable. Colonies that had struggled to produce basic supplies now manufactured advanced technology. Defense systems that would have taken decades to develop were installed within months. 25 years after the exile, humanity's hidden empire had grown beyond anything the Council could imagine. 230 colonies spread across the frontier, each one connected by human-controlled hyperspace routes. The population exceeded 15 billion, with most living in the frontier rather than Sol system. Admiral Lisa Hayes commanded the Frontier Defense Force from her flagship, a precursor-enhanced vessel named Vigilance. We have achieved something remarkable, she told her senior officers during a strategy meeting. But we must remain hidden. The Council still does not know we exist out here. And that ignorance is our greatest advantage. Scout Commander Jake Morrison, who had spent years monitoring Council space, raised the concern. Admiral, we are detecting increased Council patrol activity along the frontier borders, he reported. They are not looking for us specifically, but they are expanding their survey operations. Recommendations? Lisa asked. We pull back our scouts and avoid any contact, Jake suggested. Even a single sighting could reveal our presence, Lisa nodded. Make it so. All ships maintain stealth protocols. No one engages Council vessels under any circumstances. The order went out across the frontier fleet. Human ships, with their superior speed and sensors, easily avoided Council patrols on New Terra. Colony Director Ryan Foster watched his community celebrate their 25th anniversary. Children who had been born here knew nothing of the Council or the exile. To them, this was simply home. We have built something good here, Ryan said to his council. A place where humans can live freely, without asking permission from anyone. The colony had grown from the initial 1,000 settlers to over 50,000. Farms stretched across fertile valleys. Factories produced everything from simple tools to complex electronics. And schools taught both Earth history and frontier survival. What happens if the Council finds us? Asked one of the Council members. Ryan considered the question carefully. We defend ourselves, he said simply. We are not the weak refugees who left Sol System. We are pioneers who conquered uncharted space. If the Council comes, they will find us ready. Dr. Amy Chun continued her research on Europa, now working with samples and data from dozens of frontier worlds. The biodiversity she cataloged exceeded anything found in Council space. Life finds a way everywhere, she told her students. The frontier worlds we settled have ecosystems the Council never imagined, because they never bothered to look. She had developed new techniques for rapid ecosystem adaptation. Human colonies could now establish sustainable food production within months instead of years. This knowledge makes us independent, Amy explained. We do not need council trade or council approval. We can survive and thrive anywhere. Dr. Peter Grant's team achieved another breakthrough. By combining precursor technology with human innovation, they developed communication systems that could transmit messages across the entire frontier network instantly. The council still uses relay stations, Peter explained. Their messages take days or weeks to cross long distances. Ours are instantaneous. The strategic advantage was enormous. Admiral Hayes could coordinate her entire fleet in real time. Colonies could share discoveries and warnings without delay. The frontier operated as a unified network in ways the Council never achieved. On the 30th anniversary of the exile, President Kevin Walsh, now quite elderly, gave a recorded speech transmitted to every human colony. 30 years ago, the Galactic Council told us we were too dangerous, too ambitious, too human, Walsh said. His voice still strong despite his age. They expected us to accept our place, to limit our dreams, to fade into obscurity. He paused, letting the words sink in. Instead, we conquered the stars alone, Walsh continued. We built an empire in the darkness beyond their borders. We discovered ancient knowledge they never sought. We became stronger than they ever imagined possible. But we did not do this for revenge, Walsh said. We did this to prove that humanity deserves a place among the stars, not because a council grants it, but because we earned it through our own effort and ingenuity across the frontier. Billions of humans listened to their president. The council made a mistake when they exiled us, Walsh concluded. They thought they were protecting the galaxy from humanity. Instead, they freed humanity to reach our true potential. And when the day comes that we reveal ourselves, the galaxy will see what exiled humanity became. The transmission ended. And across 200 colonies, humans went back to their lives. Building, growing, learning, preparing. They did not know that the day Walsh spoke of was coming sooner than anyone expected. Deep in council space, sensors detected something that would change everything. An invasion fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Devourers had arrived, and the Council was about to learn just how badly they needed the species they had cast out. The first sign of trouble came from Scout Commander Jake Morrison. His stealth ship detected unusual readings at the edge of Council space. Massive energy signatures, unlike anything in the known database. "Control, I am seeing something strange," Jake transmitted. Multiple large contacts entering Council space from beyond the galactic rim. Admiral Lisa Hayes reviewed the data with growing concern. "What are we looking at?" She asked her intelligence officer. "Unknown, Admiral. The energy patterns do not match any known species. The formations suggest a military fleet. And it is huge." Within days, the truth became clear. The contacts were indeed a fleet, and they began attacking Council worlds with devastating efficiency. The beings called themselves Nothing. Council species named them the Devourers because that is what they did. They arrived at a world, stripped it of all resources, and left behind a dead husk of rock. The Devourers were not biological beings, but a machine intelligence. Swarms of self-replicating drones that consumed entire planets to build more of themselves. The Galactic Council mobilized their defense fleets. The Rexian Chancellor, now even older and more frail than during the human exile, addressed the Council in emergency session. "We face an existential threat," he declared. "Every species must contribute ships and resources to stop this invasion." The Council fleet was massive, drawing vessels from 47 different species. Thousands of ships assembled to meet the Devourer advance. The battle was a disaster. Devourer technology proved superior to everything the Council possessed. Their shields absorbed weapons fire that should have destroyed them. Their own weapons cut through Council defenses like paper in 3 months. The Devourers consumed 17 Council worlds. Billions died. The Council fleet was pushed back system by system, unable to slow the relentless advance in the Frontier Defense Headquarters. Admiral Lisa Hayes called an emergency meeting of senior command. The Devourers are advancing toward sectors that will eventually reach our space, she explained, showing the projected invasion route. At their current speed, they will reach the frontier within 2 years. Why should we care? Asked one commander, an older officer who still remembered the exile. The Council threw us out. Let them face the consequences. Lisa understood the sentiment. She had felt the same anger, the same desire to watch the Council suffer for their decision 30 years ago. But Ambassador Sophie Grant, daughter of Dr. Peter Grant, stood and addressed the assembly. I understand the anger, Sophie said, her voice calm but firm. The Council exiled us unjustly. They feared us and cast us out. But are we going to become what they feared? She looked around the room. If we stand aside and let billions die, we prove the Council was right to fear us, Sophie continued. We prove that humans only care about ourselves. But if we help, we prove that humanity is better than their fear. We prove that we deserved a place among the stars all along. The debate lasted for hours. Some argued for isolation, for letting the Council face their own problems. Others argued for intervention, for proving humanity's worth. Finally, Admiral Hayes called for a vote. The decision would be transmitted to every colony, every ship, every human in the frontier. Should humanity intervene to stop the Devourers, even knowing the Council exiled us? The vote took 2 days. When the results came in, Admiral Hayes read them with tears in her eyes. 73% voted to help. Humanity has spoken, she announced. We will not abandon the galaxy, even if the galaxy abandoned us. But Lisa made one thing clear to her commanders. We do not go as beggars asking to be accepted, she said firmly. We go as equals, demonstrating what humanity has become. The Council will see that the species they exiled has grown stronger than they ever imagined. Captain Brandon Cole, now a fleet admiral, took command of the military operation. We have 3,000 ships ready for combat, he reported, all equipped with precursor-enhanced weapons and shields, all crewed by people who know what they are fighting for. Dr. Amy Chun contributed her biological warfare team. The Devourers are machines, but machines have programming, she explained. We have developed a digital virus that can disrupt their coordination. It will not destroy them, but it will make them vulnerable. Dr. Peter Grant's team prepared the final surprise. Our hyperspace capability means we can hit the Devourers from directions they do not expect, he said. We can coordinate attacks across multiple systems simultaneously, something the Council cannot do. The Frontier Council, a democratic body representing all human colonies, gave final approval. President Ashley Morgan, who had succeeded the late Kevin Walsh, addressed all of humanity. Today we reveal ourselves to the galaxy, Morgan said, not as the frightened refugees who left Council space, but as the civilization we became in exile. We do this not for gratitude or acceptance. We do this because it is right. The Devourer fleet approached Celesta Prime, the Council homeworld. The Vrexian Chancellor watched from the Council chamber as his defensive fleet made their last stand. We cannot hold them, his military advisor reported. The Devourers will break through within hours. The Chancellor sat heavily in his seat. After thousands of years, the Galactic Council was about to fall. Then the sensors detected something impossible, Chancellor. We are reading massive hyperspace signatures, the sensor operator called out. Thousands of ships emerging. Reinforcements? The Chancellor asked, hope rising in his voice. No, sir. These signatures are unlike anything in our database. The ships are, The operator paused, checking and rechecking his readings. Sir, they are human. The council chamber fell silent. On every display, human ships appeared from hyperspace. Thousands of vessels bearing names like Defiance, Independence, Freedom, and Perseverance. Ships larger and more advanced than anything humanity possessed 30 years ago. Admiral Lisa Hayes broadcast on all council frequencies. Galactic Council. This is Admiral Hayes of the Frontier Defense Force, she announced. We have come to assist with the Devourer threat. The Vrexian Chancellor stared at the displays in disbelief. Impossible, he whispered. They were supposed to be confined to Sol. Broken and defeated, but the evidence was undeniable. The human fleet moved with precision and speed the Council had never witnessed. Ships that should not exist, using technology that exceeded Council understanding. Commander Ryan Foster led the fighter squadrons. His pilots flew with coordination, enabled by the instant communication network. They struck at the Devourers like a surgical blade, hitting weak points and withdrawing before the machines could respond. Target their processing nodes, Ryan ordered. Make them unable to coordinate. Dr. Amy Chun's virus was deployed through specialized missiles. When it hit the Devourer network, the effect was immediate. Thousands of drone ships suddenly lost coordination, attacking each other or simply drifting aimlessly. The virus is working, Amy reported from her science vessel. Devourer efficiency dropped by 60%. The human ships used weapons the Council had never seen. Beams of pure energy cut through Devourer shields. Missiles that phased through conventional defenses. Point defense systems that intercepted every incoming attack. How do they have this technology? The Vrexian Chancellor demanded. No one could answer. Captain Brendan Cole commanded the flagship Triumph. His tactical display showed the entire battle. 3,000 human ships against a Devourer fleet 5 times that size, but the humans fought smart, using superior speed and coordination. Alpha Group, hit their left flank, Brandon ordered. Beta Group, prepare for hyperspace strike on their rear positions. The human ships executed maneuvers impossible with Council technology. They jumped in and out of hyperspace mid-battle, appearing behind Devourer formations and disappearing before retaliation. The Council fleet, rallied by the human intervention, pressed forward with renewed determination. Together, human and Council forces drove the Devourers back. What the Council could not stop in months, the combined fleet neutralized in 6 hours. The surviving Devourer ships retreated back toward the galactic rim, their invasion broken. Celesta Prime was saved. In the aftermath, Admiral Lisa Hayes stood on the Bridge of Vigilance, looking at the damage reports. We lost 47 ships, her operations officer reported quietly. 3,000 crew. Lisa bowed her head in respect for the fallen. They had died saving a civilization that cast humanity out. But they had also proved that humanity deserved respect. The Vrexian Chancellor requested a meeting. After 30 years, humans and the Council would speak again. But this time, the conversation would be very different. Admiral Hayes accepted the invitation. She prepared to face the Council once more, knowing that humanity would never again be seen as weak or controllable. The exile had ended, not because the Council permitted it, but because humanity had earned something far more valuable: the right to stand as equals among the stars. Admiral Lisa Hayes walked through the corridors of Celesta Prime for the first time in 30 years. The station looked older now, showing signs of the recent battle, but it was still standing. Saved by the species the Council had rejected. The Vrexian Chancellor waited in the same chamber where he had pronounced humanity's exile. He looked ancient now, his 4 eyes dimmed by age and regret. "Admiral Hayes," he said, his voice weak but sincere, "you came. After everything we did to your people, you came to save us." Lisa stood tall, her uniform crisp, her bearing that of someone who commanded respect rather than asked for it. "We came because billions of innocent lives were at stake," she replied. "We came because it was the right thing to do. Regardless of past injustices." The Chancellor gestured to the seats around the chamber. Representatives from the 47 council species filled the room, all watching the human admiral with a mixture of awe and shame. "How?" asked a Corthan elder, the same one who had supported the exile. "How did you achieve such advancement?" 30 years ago, you were barely capable of basic interstellar travel." Ambassador Sophie Grant stepped forward, standing beside Admiral Hayes. "You exiled us from council space," Sophie explained, her voice steady and professional. "So we explored spaces you never bothered to visit. We found regions of the galaxy you ignored, and in those regions, we found the ruins of the precursors." The chamber erupted in shocked conversation. "The precursors are a myth," someone protested. "No," Dr. Peter Grant said, joining his daughter at the front. "They were very real. And they left behind technology that made your jump gates look like children's toys." He activated a holographic display showing the precursor ruins, the ancient installations, the technology that still functioned after millions of years. "We studied their work," Peter continued. "We combined their knowledge with human innovation. The result is what you saw today. Ships faster than yours, weapons more powerful, defenses more resilient." The Vrexian Chancellor absorbed this information slowly. "Then humanity is now the most powerful species in the galaxy," he said quietly. Lisa met his gaze directly. "Power is not what matters," she said. "What matters is what you do with it. You had power 30 years ago, and you used it to exile innocent people out of fear." The words hung in the air like an accusation. "We were wrong," the Chancellor admitted, his voice breaking slightly. "We feared what you might become. So we tried to limit you instead. We forced you to become far more than you would have if we had accepted you." He stood with difficulty, his age showing. "The Galactic Council wishes to formally revoke the exile," the Chancellor announced. "We invite humanity to return to council space, with full membership and all rights and privileges. We offer you positions of authority in recognition of what you did for us today." The offer was everything humanity had wanted 30 years ago. Full acceptance, respect, power within the galactic order. But Lisa did not answer immediately. She looked at Sophie, at Peter, at the other humans present. They had discussed this possibility many times. "The Council offers us membership," Lisa said slowly. "But membership implies joining an existing structure, accepting rules we did not help create, fitting ourselves into your vision of how the galaxy should work." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Humanity has a counteroffer," Lisa continued. "The Galactic Council can join the Frontier Alliance." The chamber erupted again. "Impossible," several representatives shouted. "You are asking us to submit to human authority?" The Corthan elder demanded. "No," Sophie said firmly. "We are offering partnership. The Frontier Alliance is not ruled by humans. It is a democratic union where every species has equal voice. Every member contributes, every member benefits. No one is exiled for being different or ambitious." Dr. Amy Chun stepped forward with her team. "We offer shared access to precursor technology," she explained. "We offer the agricultural techniques we developed. We offer instant communication networks. We offer everything we learned in our exile, freely shared with all Alliance members. But," Lisa added, "we will not rejoin a council that maintains the same hierarchies, the same fears, the same willingness to cast out those who do not fit their comfortable order." The Vrexian Chancellor looked around the chamber at his fellow council members. Many looked angry, offended that these upstart humans would dare make demands. But others looked thoughtful, considering, "What are your terms?" The Chancellor asked. Sophie pulled up a document that have been prepared months ago. The Frontier Alliance is governed by elected representatives from every member species, she read. All major decisions require majority vote. No species can be excluded or exiled without proof of actual harm to others. Technology and knowledge are shared freely among all members. Military forces remain under individual species control, but can be coordinated for mutual defense. She continued through the terms, each one designed to prevent the kind of injustice humanity had suffered. This is not a human empire, Sophie concluded. This is a true alliance of equals. If the Council species wish to join, they will be welcomed as partners, not subjects. But the days of powerful ancient species dictating terms to younger ones are over. The debate lasted for 3 days. Some Council species refused outright, unwilling to give up their privileged positions, but others, especially those who had watched their worlds nearly fall to the devourers, saw the wisdom in change. The Corthan elders surprised everyone by speaking in support. I voted to exile humanity, he admitted. I did so because I feared change. I feared losing the comfortable order we had maintained for millennia, but that comfort made us weak. We grew stagnant while the humans grew strong precisely because they faced challenges we avoided. He looked directly at Admiral Hayes. I was wrong, he said simply, and I support joining this Frontier Alliance. Perhaps it is time the old learned from the young. Over the following weeks, 41 of the 47 Council species voted to join the Frontier Alliance. The 6 who refused were allowed to remain independent, with open invitations to join whenever they chose. The transition was not smooth. Ancient bureaucracies had to be dismantled. New systems had to be established. Species that had barely spoken to each other for centuries had to learn to work together. But gradually, the alliance took shape. Captain Brandon Cole, now semi-retired, took command of the first mixed exploration fleet. His flagship Unity carried crew members from 17 different species. Our mission is simple, Brandon told his diverse crew. We explore the frontier together. We find new worlds. We make new discoveries, and we prove that cooperation works better than isolation. The Unity's first voyage took them to regions even human scouts had not reached. They found habitable worlds, ancient artifacts, and even encountered new species who had never known the Council existed. We invite them to join the Alliance as equals, Brandon explained. No conquest, no forced integration. Just the offer of friendship and mutual benefit. Dr. Amy Chun established the Frontier Academy on a neutral station. Students from dozens of species studied together. Human teachers shared precursor technology. Alien instructors taught their own specialties. Knowledge grows when shared, Amy told her first class of mixed species students. The Council hoarded knowledge, kept secrets, maintained advantages. The Alliance shares everything, because we are stronger together than apart. Jake Morrison, the former Scout commander, became the Alliance's chief of intelligence. His job was to watch for new threats while ensuring the Alliance operated with transparency. We monitor for dangers, not for control, Jake explained to new recruits. Every member species has access to the same intelligence. We do not keep secrets from our partners. On the anniversary of the Exile Decree, a ceremony was held at a memorial built on Celesta Prime. President Ashley Morgan gave the dedication speech 40 years ago. The Galactic Council told humanity we were too dangerous to remain among the stars, she said. They were right to fear us, but not for the reasons they thought. She gestured to the memorial, which listed the names of every human who died during the exile and the war against the Devourers. We were dangerous because we refused to accept limitations, Morgan continued. We were dangerous because we would not stop dreaming, growing, exploring. But that danger became strength when we used it to save those who cast us out. The memorial bore an inscription in every Alliance language. It read simply, They exiled us to the darkness. We returned with the light. Admiral Lisa Hayes, now retired, attended the ceremony with her family. She watched young humans and aliens working together, laughing together, building a future together. Was it worth it? Her granddaughter asked. All the pain of the exile, all the struggle. Lisa thought about the question carefully. Without the exile, humanity would have joined the council and become like them, she said. Comfortable, stagnant, afraid of change. The exile forced us to become something better. It gave us a reason to reach further and dream bigger. She smiled at her granddaughter. So yes, it was worth it, Lisa concluded. Not because of the pain, but because of what we became despite the pain in the frontier regions. Human colonies thrived alongside new settlements from allied species. Children born there knew nothing of the old divisions. The old fears to them, the galaxy was simply home. A place of infinite possibility. The Devourers remained a day,